Welcome to Six Count. I'm your host, Zara Wild, bringing you the voices and stories of jazz from Durham, North Carolina. Larry, thank you so much for joining Six Count.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And you drove all the way from Greensboro, so thank you so much for doing that. And you had a period where you traveled all throughout the world, which I'd love to hear about a little later. But first wanted to talk about the show you have coming up on January 26th at the Sharp 9 Gallery.
Yes.
One of the most beloved venues for jazz in the area. So just tell us about who's going to be playing that night and what you're looking forward to.
This is going to be the debut of my double trio with Devin Fuller on drums, Jason Foreman on upright bass, with Steve Haynes on upright bass as well, and Lynn Grissett. And we're also going to have some special guests, my kids from my percussion ensemble up in Greensboro. Let's see here. We have Lil Davis Long on piano, Jalen Moore on all things percussive, Jaden Tate on percussion as well.
Very cool. And you were sharing before we hit record that you work at Brightwood Elementary School in Greensboro where you teach music and also are starting this ensemble. So can you share about your involvement with the school and how this came together?
Yeah, anything about my kids makes me happy. First and foremost, like I never thought I'd be teaching elementary school because I just didn't have the patience. Like I recognize in order to do the job the way I saw it to be correct, like you basically have to be a co-parent, and like in my 20s,
tough work.
Yeah. And in my 20s, I was just like, man, I don't have the patience for it. Whereas now, nearing 40, I think it's a beautiful part of my personal process to develop the heart of a dad before I actually have my own kids. The percussion ensemble came about really as just a way to give the kids who are always getting in trouble for knocking on the tables and things. Because like I really resonate with that. I've been playing drums for 30 years now. And like I was that kid always getting in trouble, banging
on the desks and such.
Oh yeah. So I totally understand not only that particular thought process, that particular creative thought process, but also the mindset behind like tapping on the desk for a reason though, So yeah, the percussion ensemble, it became like it was a creative outlet for all of my really talented, like obviously talented kids. And
do you feel like you have to do a lot of education about why jazz is a cool art form, or is it something that they are already interested in? I'm just curious from like a kid's perspective. It sort of feels like an adult art form sometimes.
Agreed. No. And here's why. It's all about the presentation. I talk about like a continuum. Everything that I show my kids, I show it to them from the standpoint of like, listen, if this were 1943 or 44, you would think this is hot. So I need you to listen to it from that perspective. And so that's how we listen to records, and they get it. And yes, it's cool.
That's great, because hopefully they will be the ones who carry the torch in the future.
Yes.
Well, also coming up is a February 29th show through Brightwood as part of the Black History Month concert series. So can you share about that and what you're hoping the kids will get out of that?
Yes, I'm really excited about that. We have Rhythms of Resistance. We're dealing with themes of like family reunion. starting with like, okay, a lot of the people that are going to be performing, like the adult guest performers, are people who I haven't seen in a number of years. So it's going to be like a family reunion on that level.
Oh, nice.
We're bringing in even some kids that, they're now 7th and 8th graders, but they're going to come back and perform. So family reunion, like from that obvious kind of thing. But then even deeper than that, in the actual curriculum that we're teaching in the classrooms, some of the themes that we're dealing with, we're talking about how systemic racism like affected like the nuclear family and like broke it up. So this notion of like family reunion from that standpoint. And then I jokingly tell like all of my like non-black friends, especially like all my white friends, I'm like, listen, I don't use February as 28 days to beat up on white people. Knowing the full history of our struggle in this country. And so family reunion also from the standpoint of like the American family, like all the different races coming back together and working together in unity. I mentioned that word parenting before. I see the necessity to not so much pass down like the ideas, because institutions and books can pass down ideas, but being there in real time with the children and really trying to pass down like the character traits that go beyond just the ideas. One of the things that they've taught me is that we can even have discussions on this level, like some of the things that these kids say, like in the class discussion, because, I've done like university lectures and stuff like that before. That's how I run my class. Like, I don't run it like, like, hey, Johnny, da, da, da. No, it's like, hey, man, what you think about this, And so the things that these kids say on these topics, it's like, holy cow, man, like y'all are deep. So, yeah, it's a beautiful opportunity.
I'm curious if you view your own music work as a form of activism.
Yeah, totally. I look at it as we're just being very honest and most importantly, trying to provoke thought, like even if people don't necessarily agree, because when we were doing the Nina Simone thing with my continuum project, obviously, you have to deal with like racial issues, etc. And I had a lot of really cool samples. I had like Dave Chappelle samples, Richard Pryor samples, Patrice O'Neal samples. I even had one piece that we did dealing with police brutality. Like I actually had excerpts from like the George Floyd situation, and it was it got really heavy, and but it was beautiful because the response at the end of the show, people from all walks of life, ethnicities, backgrounds, etc., they were like, man, like, this is like, we need to have these type of discussions. And the fact that, like I just came to see a jazz show and like I was over there crying, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I appreciate that. So yeah, activism is a part of it.
And you mentioned the North Carolina Jazz Continuum project, which is something that started a few years back. Yeah. And so how is that evolving and what are you envisioning for this year?
Initially, it was just, it was like a concert series. And it was just, dedicated to the icons from, North Carolina.
Can you name a few? Although we've had some of their names come up on this series. Definitely.
We got to start with Max Roach. I play drums and, Max Roach, that's like a father. John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, who's from my grandmother's hometown of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Obviously, Nina Simone. Dr. Billy Taylor, who I got a chance to meet whenever I was a part of the Betty Carter Jazz Ahead residency.
Very cool.
Yeah, he changed my life. He gave me some advice like on how to shape a drum solo that really pushed me to the next level. Tal Farlow, who's from Greensboro, North Carolina. Danny Richmond, the drummer for Charles Mingus.
So many. And then Strayhorn too.
Yeah, Billy Strayhorn's from Hillsboro.
Whose niece, I think, still lives in North Carolina because someone mentioned her coming to a gig at Seagrace and approaching the band saying, you just played a Strayhorn song that I love. And by the way, this is who I am. So Must have been a cool moment. So what are some of the people that you might want to focus on if you're still going to continue with the dedication portion?
The beautiful thing is everyone's catalog is so huge. The 26th, we're doing like a dual tribute show. We're doing the music of Max Roach, but we're also doing a tribute to Percy Heath, which is why we have 2 drummers and then 2 bassists.
Okay.
I'm at a point in my artistry where I'm really obsessed with synchronization. So much in jazz, we talk about like syncopation, but what I've realized is you have to have a strong understanding of synchronization before you can syncopate.
Share more.
Yeah. So synchronization is 2 separate things working together in unison. Okay, I'm gonna use drum language. All the drummers know that we have these rudiments called flams. And flams are basically like whenever both hands are playing at the same time and you have a principal stroke and you have a grace stroke. So it's like, but we also have this phenomena called pop flams or double stops. And that's where the 2 hands are striking at the exact same time.
Okay.
Now the reason why that's so cool is because when you have 2 drummers playing at the same time, you don't want traditional flams. You want pop flams. You basically want to sound like one person. Okay. And to achieve that takes a great deal of skill. So in my own artistry, like I'm really working on trying to master that phenomena with recordings. It just happens to be that my best friend, Devin Fuller, I've known Devin for like 20. He's one of the first people I met whenever I was a freshman at A&T. We play so well together that it's seamless. We actually did a Max Roach tribute last year that was incredible. And so I already knew I wanted to do more with the 2 drummers. But then I've been talking with Steve Haynes for a number of months now about doing a Percy Heath tribute. And so the notion to have 2 bassists from an artistic standpoint, and these 2 particular people, Steve with his vast understanding of like classical music and like the use of the bow and like arco. And then Jason, me and Jason have been playing together for over 20 years as well. And we just have a really cool beat, a really cool quarter note that we play. So being able to take all of those elements and throw them in the same space, it's going to be really hip.
I love how it sounds like you have to be not only a seasoned musician, but also have a seasoned relationship with the other musician, because as you're saying, you seem to intuit what the other person is feeling or thinking because your playing is so in sync. Definitely.
There's different ways you can synchronize with people. The obvious initial one, like you just said, is like if you know somebody, you already have rapport off of the bandstand, and so you're able to bring that into your artistry. But then the other one that I find most intriguing is the one where you play with somebody, you're thrown into a room with somebody, you're thrown on the bandstand with somebody who you never played with before, but they have listened to a lot of the same records that you've listened to. And so what happens is that there's just an understanding there that's unspoken. It's like, okay, cool, man, you've heard that, or oh man, you going in that direction, okay, cool. And then you guys, you're able to get a lot.
Now I want to look into who has done this before. And so who's inspired you in doing, would you say it's a duo? Is that how you describe it, or dual?
Like the specific terminology of having a double trio, I got that from Joshua Redmond. Okay.
I heard him play at the Egg in Albany, New York.
Sweet. Yeah. Mr. Redmond is the truth. And this particular outfit, it just happened to be that I actually had 2 gigs. I was at the Newport Jazz Festival with the Joey Calderazzo trio. Joey was nice enough to let me tour with him for about 2 years, on and off. And then I was also there with the North Carolina Central Jazz Big Band.
So when you were getting your master's?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, this was like the summer of 2010. It was killing. Like right after we had finished our set, you know, you're just roaming around because this is the Newport Jazz Festival.
I've always wanted to go.
Really? I'm telling you, it's incredible, and you're gonna love it when you do. And so like I'm walking around, and like all of my favorite drummers are like dapping me up. They're like, "Man, I just heard you, man, with the big band. Man, you sound good." Or they had heard me with Joey. And long story short, when we get to the main stage, it just so happened to be that the Joshua Redmond double trio was about to hit. And so I'm talking with Blade backstage, Brian Blade, and I'm also talking with Gregory Hutchison. That conversation I had with Hutch specifically changed my life because he gave me a piece of advice concerning patience. I was very, very, very impatient about the process of becoming.
Like becoming great.
Yeah, you know, and I definitely ain't great, but just having a lot of ambition, like as a young man and a young artist. And I just kept it real with him. I was just like, man, I feel like, certain things were supposed to have happened. And he just said some real stuff to me. I'm not going to go into it too deep.
Can you share some though? Because
sure.
I have actually I've had so many conversations like this where it is that where it's like, am I in the right place in my career? Where am I headed? Right. Do I have an arc? Is an arc being, is that happening right now?
Wow. Well, yeah. And now that you said, this will help somebody. So let me provide context. At this particular time, the main reason I even went to North Carolina Central to pursue my master's was because Branford was artist in residence there. My whole life, things have been confirmed supernaturally through dreams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I had a dream that I was a student at North Carolina Central. So I was like, okay, this is easy. Now, the reason why that's huge is because I had already been offered a full scholarship to go to Indiana from Dr. David Baker himself. I had attended a jazz camp, and he was one of the coaches, and I got real close to Dr. Baker before he passed. And he was like a father to me. And so he was telling me, he was like, you're talking about Central. Like, no, you coming to Indiana, you're going to study with me, And so I had that on the table. I also had an opportunity to study with Terrell Stafford up at Temple. Coming to Central, my objective was to get in Branford Marsalis's band. That was another thing too. I was telling my mentor at A&T, who was close to Branford, real good friends with him. I was like, man, Tane is getting out of the band. I want that gig. And he was like, well, yo, shoot for the stars, man. Like, go for it. So I'm close to what I want, but I'm not there because I'm playing with his pianist. Joey has picked me up. I'm touring with Joey. Joey is being a major force in my accelerated development as an artist. So I'm talking with Hutch. All of that's happening. I just wanted to provide that backdrop. So all that's happening, and this is the first time that the young man who's still touring with Branford, Justin Faulkner, who's like a brother to me. Shout out to Justin. I just saw him in Charlotte a couple months ago, and he he blessed one of my kids. I took my kid to go see him and meet him, little Jalen, and he was incredible to him. Yeah, Justin, this is like his debut. This is like his coming out to the world at the Newport Jazz Festival, playing with Branford Marsalis.
Yeah,
I ain't going front. I was hot. I was like, man, like this dude stole my gig. Like that's supposed to be me on that stage. This is what I'm telling Hutch. And he was just honest with me, man. He was like, look, dog. He's like, you got to look at it in the grand scheme of things, which is, he's like, that's just his time. That's his time. Your time is at another time. And you can't, I've heard a million people say it now, but that was the first time I heard the phrase comparison kills.
The thief of joy.
Come on, it's comparison, right? Yeah. And so, he changed my life. It was almost like his words were like a pen that I needed in like this just balloon of just frustration and all these negative emotions. His words were just a pen that just popped that balloon. And I was just like, wow, wait a second. It ain't my time yet. Okay, boom. And I was just able to move on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and just the idea that everything does not have to happen all at once. What would even that mean? Because we're meant to be continuing to learn and to grow and evolve.
Like you said, learning and evolving and growing. I know now in retrospect where I was in my process of humility. I wasn't ready for a gig like that. I wasn't. I would have been destroyed. Everything would have fallen apart. And so I'm glad that I was pushed to the back. I'm glad that I had to wait for certain things, because one thing that I can say now at 38, right, is that everything that I've asked for or that I've written down in like my little notebook or that I've prayed about, honestly, I can be real about it, man. God has been good. Like, he's given it to me, you know? And what Hutch was saying to me, I now understand, you know, from having been on the road for 7 years, 5 of those intensely as a missionary, is that a lot of the things that I wanted to do, I just had like the general idea of what it was. But part of my process, I didn't need to know the specific details. And like, that's how I'm moving now. It's like, I don't need to know the specific details. I now operate on a need to know basis. I only do what is in front of me. And then I allow everything else to fall in place, because it always has rather. So yeah. If
you are comfortable sharing, I'm so curious to learn more about the time where you were a missionary in Detroit, St. Louis, Israel, Dubai, Tokyo, Paris, London. Yeah. It goes on. And so what compelled you to go? Who are you with? And what did you learn?
You know, I'm a preacher's kid. So my dad, his instrument is the radio. His role in my artistic development was just putting me around a lot of really cool records. Everything from like Steely Dan all the way to like Sugar Hill Gang. And my mom, she was the master musician. She was an incredible vocalist. And so a lot of things concerning artistry, she would tell me. And another thing that she helped prepare me for, she was like, listen, you know, you have an incredible gift for music, but she's like, man, you were born, you gonna be a preacher. Like, you can't get away from it, you know? And it used to piss me off, to be honest. Like,
I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of my ambition, now I can look back and I can be honest, it was really me just like running from that. But
don't you love how running away always works out?
Exactly. Yeah. In that it doesn't, right? Yeah. And so by the time I got to Central in like 2009, I'd already stopped running. Like, I was like super excited about ministry. I was even telling people, like, you know, whenever like doors were opening for me playing with Joey, like I was telling people straight up, I'm like, yeah, I'll probably be back through here on tour with somebody, but eventually, man, I'm going to be a preacher. And so I ended up getting a job that sent me to Beijing. And I was
a jazz gig.
Exactly. Yeah. I was working for a stream of clubs. And it was awesome. Like, I was over there, I was just living in China, and I love like Chinese culture. I love Asian culture. I definitely love the food. And it was brilliant. And long story short, I had one of those encounters like my parents did, where I recognized, okay, yeah, this is cool, but I'm supposed to be helping people. And so I was able to miraculously get out of my contract. I was supposed to be there like another 8 months. I was able to come home. And so I moved back, and now I'm my dad's right hand. So like, I'm helping organize everything for his ministry, book events. I'm doing like small like youth meetings, you know, with like kids, and, you know, really gaining a lot of momentum. Like, my heart had already been prepared to give up everything as far as being a professional musician. My heart had already been prepared to do it. I just needed to know when. So when the opportunity came for me to go into full-time ministry, obviously I was still playing drums. You know, I recorded an album while I was away, you know what I'm saying? But the biggest difference in my focus was, now I'm learning. The biggest thing, if I can be all the way honest, is that I shifted from being a very self-centered individual because it's very easy as an artist to get lifted up in pride. It's very easy because you constantly have people telling you how brilliant you are. I'm always hearing like my recordings. I'm always seeing pictures of myself because I had to do a lot of my own promotion.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, man, you start drinking your own Kool-Aid. And so
it's like self-hate and self-idolatry at the same time.
Exactly. It's like, how do I have such low self-esteem, but like I'm so arrogant?
Also
like,
narcissistic.
Yeah. And so what was beautiful about being a missionary and traveling the world and seeing people from all these different socioeconomic backgrounds, but specifically though, dealing with people and ministering to people who were like way less fortunate, than I am. Really learning how to get out of the way and just love people. That's what caused me to let go of a lot of that selfishness, of just being in a very, very, very small group of people, right? Because the jazz community is small, especially whenever we talk about that community in comparison to the world. It's just like, man, I'm just like a little blip. None of the stuff that I've held so dear or held on to so tightly, none of that matters, man. Like, people out here dying, and people need love.
Larry, it has been such a pleasure to speak with you and to hear more of your personal story. Is there anything else you'd like to share about where people can find you next and where they can follow you? Yeah.
Definitely follow me on my Instagram page. That's I've kind of whittled everything down to that because I can get to people most immediately. My website, LarryDrawnMusic.com, is definitely under construction right now. So yeah, get at me at Instagram.com/LarryDrawnMusic.
Larry, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to 6 Count. I'm Zara Wild. You can let us know what you thought of the episode or recommend a guest by emailing us at 6countpodcast@gmail.com or by finding us on Twitter or Instagram at 6countpodcast. If you'd like to support our work in telling the story of jazz in Durham, you can make a gift to the show by following the link in our episode description. Thanks for listening.